We should really have a song intro to our podcast.
We're not doing another song.
We don't want to do another song?
No.
I'll just say it then. Welcome to What's Good Under the Hood. Owner of Mazda of Columbia, Greg Hood. Raise your hand. There's Greg. And the only other one that has not raised their hand yet, Rob Sanders, Fox Sports Radio 1400 on your AM dial. Rob Sanders, not Andy.
I ironed my shirt for this podcast today.
We can't tell.
Well, your
Shut up.
Your seatbelt kind of wrinkled the side there.
Yeah, it did a little bit.
You know how bachelors
have the military crease thing going.
You know how people without wives iron their shirt? Not saying that, you see, I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. That's sexist. For people who live alone that have wrinkled shirts, turn the shower on full hot, close the bathroom door, let it steam until it'll steam right on your body.
You're wasting water and energy.
Who cares? You get a nicely pressed shirt without having to own an iron. I don't have an iron.
Why don't you just get a steamer?
Too expensive.
It's
And
not
I use
wrinkled.
I use the landlord's water and hot water, so I don't care.
My shirt's not wrinkled. It's just I'm chunky. I'm trying to lose weight. We'll get there.
Yeah, you will.
All right, we won't get into weight. All right, what you got, Rob?
All right. So
You're the
leading
master.
off today, sir, is that, and I sent this, and you told me last week that you have great stuff up at Mazda of Columbia, but you're having trouble getting cars right now, and a lot of that has to do with some of the stuff that's going on with COVID-19 over in China. But are we getting to a point now where we're going to get back to you're going to have a hard time getting new cars on the lot?
Well, I'm in trouble in another couple weeks. Right now, I'm okay. I've got a reasonable. Well, actually, at this moment, I have a low selection. I've got about another 16 cars coming in between now and the end of the month, and we'll sell through them. But based upon allocations that I've got over the last couple of months, the month of May and maybe part of June, I may not even have a new car on the ground, and that is frightening.
Well, but let me ask you this. You may not have any on the lot, but if I come to you and I say, Greg, I want a Mazda Miata and I'm willing to place an order for it, can we get it down the line?
Yeah, I could do an order, and because the timing of it now is probably right. So what I was going to try and tell you, there's a gap.
Okay.
And the gap had to do with what we talked about in the last podcast, and that's where things over in China were shutting down, and Shanghai, as a matter of fact, is still shut down over there, but it's creating that gap. Remember, we talked about the 9-day?
Right.
Well, you can about double or triple that by the time it gets to us. It's the trickle down effect. That's what I was trying to say. What was is that
just down,
trickling down? There we go.
I make pictures. So
I thought you were pointing at Andy.
I make pictures because I'm trying to reason in my head. And I'm like, if I have a picture here where I drew that it's going down, then I know that it's going down.
So two things have happened though. My sales are up. So with my sales being up and us having last month was a record month for us, and then this month we're tracking to do even better. The challenge is I will actually run out of cars. So I wasn't keeping pace with allocation. And now I'm completely cleaning myself out by selling them at the rate that I'm selling them. So it's a problem.
All right. Well, but let's give you this question. If you can't get new cars, then someone's going to say, well, Greg, why don't you just buy used cars? And then you can fill your lot with that until we can get a new allotment of new cars.
Well, I can, and I do, and I am. I mean, I think in the last 3 days, I bought 10 or 11, and then a couple purchases off the street. But I'm paying more for that used car than I generally would when you take them in trade. And the reason why is I'm not paying more for the car, but I've got a auction fee and I've got transportation that go along with it. And the other thing is I don't see the car. I see it in pictures and I hear it run and all that stuff in the fancy auction. But when they get to you, there's always something in reconditioning that needs to be done that center console has some nick out of it. So you have to replace it or whatever, make the car look the way it's supposed to. So there's additional expense in that. So that we get squeezed in our ability to make profit on a per vehicle basis by those cars. The second thing that happens when I don't have new cars, we run about 80% trade at our dealership. So not all of them are keepers, probably 50 to 60% we will keep. The rest of them will run through the auction because they're not something we want to put up front. Car's either tired or it has some kind of a problem with it. But in doing that, so my trade acquisition is what my used car lot is usually filled with. And I kind of augment it with purchasing a few cars here and there when I start seeing us thinning out. Now I'm buying pretty heavy because I know what's coming in May and June. I'm going to have more used cars than I've ever had, but I won't have trade acquisition. So the car's only worth what it's worth. I'm only going to be able to sell it for what somebody's willing to pay for it. So just because I pay too much doesn't mean they're going to pay too much. They may pay a little too much because everybody's paying a little too much for a used car, but a car only has a certain value. So with that, my profits then get squeezed. It's a kind of a vicious circle. And then when we don't have new cars to sell, there's a lot of things that are generated from that. Every time I sell a new car, the factory participates in co-op for my advertising. So when I spend money here at your radio stations, part of that is subvented by the manufacturer based upon the amount of cars I sold. Now I don't have any, I don't sell any, all of a sudden I don't have that number. And let's say it's $20,000 a month that I get because I've sold, 45, 50 new cars or whatever. And now that money has evaporated. That's $20,000. I got to still keep advertising. I still got to keep marketing my business. So that's gone. And there's just a lot of things that kind of tie all into it. And then down the road, it's units in operation. It's feeding my service and parts department. I'll have a gap. So there'll be less cars on the road of my brand because I'm having that issue.
All right. Well, let me ask you this, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But
You did a great job of it.
You did, man.
I
Just
slid-
the stop sign was right there. Shut the hell up, Woods.
I slid right in there like I was sliding into home plate.
Like a
But
snake.
you mentioned that when you get a car, there's generally something, there may be something wrong with it, and you may have to fix this or that so that you can get it to the level where it meets what your brand has as far as hitting the road. What's the turnaround on that? If you bought, like, I don't know, 50 cars from some auction or dealer or whatever, what's the turnaround on getting those set up where they can actually get back into your lot and they're ready to go?
Well, the first thing I would never do is buy 50 cars in one day.
I use 50 as an example.
I know, but
Let's go 5.
I'll go 5, but I'll give you the 50 reason first because
Sure.
they all get old at the same time, and we're on a turn. So I have 60 days in our dealership to get off the car. I really have 90, but at 60 days we write them down because the value is generally less. And so there is another loss that can be incurred if I have too many used cars. Now, if I buy 5, our goal in our service department is a turnaround of 72 hours.
Mhm.
Some cars take longer. Now, the second issue, we're having a tough time getting parts. And so I have a Nissan pickup down there that's perfectly fine, but it needed some weird part. I can't remember what it was. It was maybe a trim piece.
What year? Because I drove a Nissan pickup for a while. It was a great little car.
It wasn't that year. Anyway, we've been waiting for a part on it. It just came in, but it took 2 weeks. I had a CX-9 that had some transportation damage on it, and I'm 3 weeks in. The bumper skin, it's just the skin. It didn't do anything else to the car. Is going to be here on the 27th. So, I mean, I've got a car that's down sitting with damage on the back of it due to transportation. It's only, I don't know, $900 worth of damage. And we disclose that to the customer. Hey, it's got a new bumper scan on. It's no big deal. But, we're having that supply chain issue too when it comes to parts and reconditioning. So that slows it down sometimes. But our goal, and most dealers' goals, are 72 hours to on an average, to get a car through. So 2021 with 15,000 miles, it won't need anything. It's going to go through the shop, gets inspected, oil change, filter change, new wiper blades, and we send it on, maybe an alignment if it needs it, and we send it on its way.
All right. So I was rude earlier and I cut you off, Andy, but I really want to know what you had to say.
I was just observing the trickle down because it affects so many people. The Shanghai lockdowns and the parts shortage, toughness to get them. I mean, it affects everybody from you guys all the way down to us, each individual employee, because all the advertising money that you spend, it affects a ton of people.
Well, we were just talking about me checking up on that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
When I don't have any new cars to sell, why would I go spend money in advertising? The question is, do I want to continue to invest money in branding my business, or will the general public know that I was dark for a month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks? And generally, if you've been in the advertising world, you've been doing something for a year, which I have been, and you go dark for a little while, nobody's going to really notice. You pick back up and then they kind of hits them back in the forehead again. But the bottom line is I have decisions to make based upon them, which are economy affecting. If I don't spend the money with you guys, then that part of your wheel doesn't go around. And if I do spend the money and I don't get a return on it, then I lose money. So those are things you have to think about.
Well, and I sent you a piece about that. It was talking about how big the auto industry is here in South Carolina. I mean, it is absolutely
It's
huge.
enormous.
And,
yeah.
I know that we talk about the fort and We talk about the university here in Columbia, but I mean, the auto industry's got to be right up there in the top two as far as it can affect people as far as their employment and just
Do
their
you
way
know
of
what
life.
else is huge in South Carolina? Is the boat business.
I did not
Really?
know that.
Somerville. You go down Somerville, there's Scout, there's Sportsman, there's Key West.
Is that where
there's-
Bentley is too? The
Bentley's
pontoon
right
people?
here. It's in Columbia. It's right off of 20. And they're actually adding on to their plant. They're building a huge plant next to it to keep up with their demand. But there's a lot of boat manufacturers in South Carolina. And, you know, when BMW moved in and then Michelin's headquarters is here, and then we got the Michelin plant over here in Lexington. But you've got so many suppliers that are up there. So that whole Spartanburg, Greenville, Greer area has just exploded.
Can I read you a quote from the Department of Commerce?
Can you
may.
read?
No,
You
know,
may.
easy there, Mississippi. The 2021 International Trade Report released in February reported that the state has 36.6% of the country's market share of exported tires and 19.4% of its market share of exported passenger vehicles. So
Well-
essentially 20% of passenger vehicles, a part of that's in our state.
Well, Volvo's in Somerville.
Yeah.
So, and I anticipate that will become another kind of hub like the Spartanburg area as well. I think there's a big industrial park where it is, and there'll be lots of things that start surrounding it because Volvo's starting to get a little bit more traction that they had.
Do you think that's because we're a right to work state?
Yeah, I think that, and labor's cheaper here.
Mhm.
You know, same reason why Mazda and Toyota and Kia have plants down in Alabama, and I think Georgia and around down there. You know, it's a lower cost of living here. I mean,
Mhm.
if the average home is 800 grand in Sacramento, which I think I'm about right, and the average home here is probably somewhere in the 250 to 300 range now, 250, maybe 300. I don't know. It's come up. There's a big significant difference in what it takes to make your house payment. So whether or not you could work in a plant out there versus here, I mean, there's a huge difference in what they can live the same or a very good life on a lot less money in this particular area.
I just reading that article, and you know what? I may post that in the show description there when you catch this on YouTube or on the podcast feed, however you get it. But this is from charlestonbusiness.com, and they break down how big the auto industry is here, and it amazed me because I mean, just the idea of essentially 1 in 5 passenger vehicles has some sort of South Carolina stamp on them. That is
Well, I read that
crazy.
there was 72,000 jobs revolving around that. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure that even takes into consideration car dealers. I think that's
Yeah.
just manufacturing. I don't think that's
Yeah, that's just the manufacturing portion of it. That's not, the guys that, I mean, and let's just use your business as an example. I mean, I'm not sure how many folks you employ there, but I mean, you've got your sales reps, your accounting, your folks that work in your service department.
So we're at 31 right now.
Yeah.
And we will be growing because going into that new building and then having 2 facilities, I'll need to add staff and our volume will go up as well. And then because we are moving into a brand new service department that's a lot bigger, we can actually accommodate that. I've got more work right now than I know what to do with. And it's amazing the evolution of our service department. You know, when I started, we have tripled the amount of business that we're putting through our service department every month from when I started in this. I guess it's been 15 months ago. And, you know, I made the comment today, where are they coming from? You know, Mazda doesn't make a car that breaks down all the time. You know, we are providing much better service. I'm not knocking the previous guy that owned the dealership, but I think we're providing much better service for our customers than they did. And that may be the disconnect of them wanting to sell it. I don't know. And I'm not putting them down, but we have much better customer satisfaction and we're much more efficient in what we're doing and getting cars in and out of there. So there's a couple pieces to it. We're doing higher volumes, so there's more used cars that run through and yada, yada. But when we move into our new facility, I'm sure that in alone will drive more people through the door.
Well, you know, I had my car serviced with your folks, and it was interesting because they took pictures of the stuff that was wrong with my car and texted to me. This is what's
Did
wrong
you
with
get
your
the
car.
video or did you get the picture?
I got video and pictures
Right.
with, this is the things that are wrong with your car. And it wasn't a pressurized environment. It was, do you want us to fix this today or not? This is what it will cost. And I was like, man, how is that? Because generally, you get somebody that tries to, well, you have to do this or your car's going to die. But I mean, it just gave me a different perspective on my car. So maybe that's part of the reason that you got more folks coming in, because your folks that are there are doing it the correct way.
So it's interesting. We'll go back and talk about that now that I've got about 2 months or maybe 3 months, maybe 2 months
Right.
under my belt with the video thing and the pictures. And it has done two things. Our customer satisfaction has certainly improved. We have a whole lot less friction. And we talked about it, I don't know, 10 podcasts ago, talking about this whole thing of what we were doing. And it has increased the customer's trust level because they can see it with their own eyes.
Yeah.
You know, when the car disappears in that mystery box back there and you say, oh, you need to have this or need to have that, you're not answering that.
Take your
No.
pills, Andy.
In a meeting, I'll call you back.
Take your pills, Andy.
Anyhow,
That's another sound.
anyway, the point is that our, and I'm not embarrassed to say it, our profits have improved, and they're improved because people are making decisions based upon what they see, not just taking our word for it. So when they see a cabin air filter that's being pulled out of their car, and it's, you know, especially with all this pollen and stuff,
Yeah.
it's disgusting. They don't believe that it was their cabin air filter when they don't see it coming out with a video.
Right. Well, and that's what they did with mine. They pulled out the cabin air filter and was like, okay, this is your cabin air filter. You should change it. And then it was the actual air filter for the engine. You should change it. They pull it out and I'm like, uh-oh, maybe I should do that. And it was just having the picture there and, you know, looking at it. Okay, well, that needs to be done.
That's a lot better than sitting in the waiting area and all of a sudden the guy comes in with a sheet of paper and says your cabin air filter needs to be replaced. That'll be $42. And your engine air, they don't show it to you.
Well,
just-
a good service advisor will.
Yeah.
Because they're not stupid. They're going to show you because they have to. The problem is you didn't see it come out of your car.
Correct.
Well, I got my cabin air filter changed and my air conditioner started working better. It was more efficient
I
and it
can
started
breathe.
working
Well,
better.
you know why? It's like when you're at home and you change
Yeah.
your filter in your AC unit.
Yeah.
You have
And
to
you
do that?
return.
You have
Yeah.
to do it at home too.
Yes, cheapy.
Mm.
They make those really inexpensive paper ones, though. You can put in there if that gives you any comfort.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it was a great experience, and I'm not, you know, obviously I'm here with you now, but and I'm not. I mean, if it were bad, I'd tell you.
I know you well enough to know that if you got bad service from anybody,
All right, I'll
you would
tell you.
say it in front of their face.
Well, I would hope to know because we don't want to provide that. I listen, my dad always told me stand and face the music. If you've got a problem, you know, it's the one I don't know about, is the one I can't fix.
Right.
I would prefer that somebody would pick up the phone and call me and tell me, other than filleting me on Facebook or Google review.
Man,
You know, you're the worst people in the world. Well, we're the worst people until we know we have a problem, and then we'll fix it. We're no longer the worst
Yeah.
people. I mean, we're going to make mistakes. Good grief.
nobody ever goes back after they fillet somebody, and then they're, you know, and then let's say that they screwed something up, or you guys screwed something up, and you go back and you fix it. They don't go back and retract that and say, you know what? I
no,
went to them, and then all
brother,
of a sudden,
let me tell you something. If it's something, I'll make them somewhat conditional. If there's something that we maybe didn't do wrong, but they perceive that we did wrong, and then we give them an explanation, and then I give them a break on it, you're darn right. Now, my deal is this: if you give me the opportunity to fix it and I don't fix it, go to it. You can go to town on there and tell me how bad we are. But if you never give me the opportunity and you just go on and say how bad we are, yeah, we'll ask if we make it right that you refuse it or remove it. They don't have to, but most of them do. I mean, it's not the ones that get me are the ones that leave some horrible thing, and we've never had them as a customer. They've never been in our system, and we go through and I probably got 10 in the last year that we'll go through it. I'm like, well, was it Volkswagen? You know, because they share the same service drive currently, and even check their system, and nope, it's not there. And it is funny. There were a lot because our dealership was called Midlands Mazda. Well, there's a Midlands Honda and there's a Midlands Toyota. And so whether or not they think that they're filleting the wrong guy or getting on there and filleting Midlands whoever, and they got the wrong one, I don't know.
Or they're ghost complainers.
Like
Like
the
ghost guns, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
ghost guns. Oh, we don't need to get into that.
No, we don't.
It'll get us in trouble.
Boo.
A new word, a new buzzword.
Well, you got to have a buzzword to create all the crap.
In your
we
case, you
created.
got to catch a buzz in order to come up with a word.
Who, me?
Right.
Never had one of those in my life.
All right.
What, a
Never.
word or a buzz?
Buzz.
Oh.
They're words.
Or a buzzword. All right.
I think we're done.
Okay.
That's it. Make sure that it doesn't have the scroll that I can read on the bottom. Where'd the scroll
Gotta
go?
put the scroll up there. We'll make it happen.
Share, like, set a notification. Is that what I got to do?
Yes.
Like it, share it,
leave a comment too.
and leave a comment. And please feel free to send money as well. Is there a money link?
No, there's no money.
There's
link.
no
Uh,
Patreon here.
We
sir.
need to put one on there.
Well,
you.
we
You
should.
can-
That
For
Give us a
cat
tip.
Patreon's going to pay for the chicken salad of the new dealership.
food. There you go.
I can't wait for the grand opening. We should do the podcast there for a grand opening of Mazda of Columbia when it does
That would
finally
be
open.
kinda
Oh,
its
won't
doors.
that be grand?
Yeah. I'm thinking there's going to be some kind of a food buffet. That's why I suggested that.
Oh yeah, Chunky Boy's got to eat. Come on now.
That's it. Thanks for joining us. Share it, like it, and set a reminder. And of course, leave a tip. It's What's Good Under the Hood. Greg Hood of Mazda of Columbia, Rob Sanders from Fox Sports Radio, and me. Thanks for watching.